We're back with Rachel Maddow and her book, Blowout. Now, I don't know how to talk about this book because I love this book so much.
Thank you so much for reading it, man. You don't have to,
so
but it
here's
was very
the thing.
nice of you.
You know what this brought me back to? It brought me back to a moment when I was a freshman in college, toward the end of freshman year, because in sophomore year we had to choose our majors, the area we would concentrate our studies in. And my freshman advisor said to a group of about 6 of us, you don't realize this, but the choice you make in your concentration of studies is the choice about how you're going to look at the world. You will look at the world through literature for the rest of your life, if that's what you do. You'll look at it through history. You'll look at it through chemistry. You'll look at it through biology. And I thought, biology? And then I heard Nobel Prize-winning biologist George Wald give a lecture, and I thought, oh, yes, you can look at the world through biology. And I ended up, through a process of elimination that was a stumble of a few months, choosing economics. And so I've had that window. Blowout by Rachel Maddow is a way of looking at the world. This has the weight of really a college major, of years of study. It has range. It has authority. It is, the subtitle could be How the World Got This Way. It really could be how we got to this, and I mean all of this that we're living with today.
That is very kind of you to say. You have, you reading the book is humbling to me, and I'm thankful for that. I'm also very humbled by those words. I did not intend to write a book about oil and gas, and I started off knowing nothing about oil and gas. I was trying to answer other questions about how we got to the world that we are in right now, and big questions about why we're in this fight between authoritarianism and democracy, and why Russia took that wild swing at us, and why they're such a strange, malignant actor internationally, given that within our lifetime, they've been a world-straddling superpower with, communist satellite states all over the world, and they were our equal in terms of world influence. Trying to get to answers to those questions, I ended up in an economics framework. I ended up looking at what's wrong with their economy and how weak that made them. And when you combine their weakness and their ambition, you realize that the ways they've had to try to compete are desperate and also pretty narrowly defined. And I didn't, and therefore I had to learn a lot about oil and gas. And you know me, as soon as I learn about a thing currently involving Subject X, I have to go back to the original history of Subject X and tell you the story from the Big Bang. And so it does have a lot of history of the oil industry, but only because I had to learn it in order to figure out these answers to these contemporaneous questions.
Will you take us from the time when New Bedford was the richest city in America, the whale oil industry, into John D. Rockefeller, what he meant to the oil industry here, what Vladimir Putin means to the oil market now, how oil has defined Russian behavior in so many ways as a government and so forth. There's so many different stories in this book, but it's all one piece. Do you think there's a hero in this book? Because I do.
Ooh.
I've got a hero.
Okay, go.
Of course, the hero is Austin Holland.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
What a character to trace him from the beginning. This seismologist in Oklahoma. In fact, Oklahoma's seismologist. I mean, the guy who was the very first person to deal with the question of why is there a sudden rash of earthquakes in Oklahoma?
This incredibly stable, landlocked part of the United States that is not known for earthquakes suddenly starts having a few little shakers and then dozens and then hundreds and then this seemingly unstoppable rash. And Austin Holland is just a scientist. He is a sort of humble, directed scientist who's there to do interesting work as Oklahoma's state seismologist. And he ends up being the target of the oil and gas industry that does not want to hear what he is concluding about what's happening in that state. And he is...
Which he was very slow to conclude. This was a
slow
very
and deliberate
careful,
and follow the data kind of guy.
Years and years.
He's not like an environmental activist out there crusading. He's just a guy trying to do good seismology. And he was so positively disposed toward the industry, such an apolitical guy. He didn't look at these oil figures in the state who were starting to pressure his office and say, oh, those are the bad guys, they're coming for me. He did everything he could to try to accommodate them until it came to the breaking point where it was them or it was the science, and he sided with the science. And they ultimately forced him out of the state. But he did such good work, and he was so unassailable, both in his sort of equanimity, but also the quality of his work, that ultimately what he did made Oklahoma face it. Finally. And they had to take on the oil industry, and they had to tell them to stuff it with some of their anti-scientific theories to try to make this stuff go away. And they did have to constrain them and regulate them and rein them in to stop the ground from shaking, in part because the science could not be denied. And it does make the scientists the heroes here.
There's a passage in here that normally I would read this. It doesn't make any sense for me to read your book.
Do you want me to read?
Would you read that for people to get them where I want them to be thinking about this right now?
I will. Turns out Putin made mistakes over the past 15 years. Big, fundamental, hard-to-reverse mistakes. That can happen when you try to build your country's future on the oil and gas industry. Putin's decisions stripped his country of its ability to compete fairly in the global economy or global politics, and limited its strategic options to the unsavory list he and his apparatchiks are ticking down today. His efforts to restore Russia as a world stage superpower no longer depend on capacity and know-how. They depend on cheating. Putin and his minions cheat at the financial markets. They cheat at the Olympics. They cheat at their own fake democracy. They cheat other people out of their democracies.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Cheating.
Yeah. When I realized the scale of the oil deal that Putin did with Rex Tillerson during the Obama administration, this $500 billion oil deal that was going to make the difference for enough oil to burn the planet up twice over in terms of what they were going to try to get out of the Russian Arctic Sea. When I realized the scale of that, and then that was blocked by sanctions, to then see Rex Tillerson, the guy who did that deal with Putin, brought in to run U.S. foreign policy under the next administration that Russia helped install, to me, I just felt like this is something we have to face. Like, they really, really need to get rid of those sanctions in order to keep their one lifeblood economic thing going. And we underestimate their need for that to our peril. We have a diversified economy. They really don't. They really have only oil and gas. And they suck at drilling their own oil and gas. Yeah. And they need other Western majors to come in and help them. We blocked that when we sanctioned them. Their whole operation against us has been about dropping those sanctions, and they're getting closer every day.
The last line in this book is actually in the acknowledgments after you thank the staff of the Rachel Maddow Show for enabling you to do this.
Their
and helping
forbearance, yes.
And you make them this promise. You say, I swear I will not do this again. Please do this again. Please. Right. This book is beautifully written. It is so brilliant. It is your voice. It is your wisdom. It's your insights. I learned so much. Please do this again.
I won't. Thank you for saying those very nice things. Thank you. You're really kind, Mark. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.